Have you ever stopped to think that your liver is working right now, filtering every drop of your blood, metabolizing every medication you take, regulating every hormone circulating through your body, and doing all of this in silence without giving you any sign that it is overloaded? The liver is the hardest working organ in the human body, and the one that complains the least. But there is something most people over 60 do not know. The liver ages. And it ages in a very specific way, with fat accumulation in liver cells, with increasing low-grade inflammation, with declining filtration capacity that can be detected in blood tests before any symptom appears. Elevated ALT and AST, GGT above normal, abnormal alkaline phosphatase. These markers speak precisely about the state of the liver. And what very few people know is that certain nuts contain bioactive compounds with documented effects on those markers, compounds that scientists identified, tested in clinical trials, and published in peer-reviewed journals. I have spent many years working in hepatic health and clinical nutrition with patients over 60, and the liver is the organ about which there is the most misinformation and the most opportunity for prevention at the same time. Today, I am going to show you 7 nuts that science has identified as having measurable effects on liver health markers, what each one contains, how it acts on the liver, and how to include it in daily life in a practical way. In this video, you will learn about the 7 types of nuts organized from the smallest to the greatest effect on hepatic markers, and you will learn how to use each one to maximize its benefits. Share this video now with someone you love before continuing to watch, especially anyone over 55. This video is educational and does not replace individualized medical guidance. Let us begin. Before talking about nuts, you need to understand what happens to the liver after 60. With aging, 3 processes accelerate in the liver. First, fat accumulation in liver cells. Hepatic steatosis, which affects more than 30% of adults over 60 in the United States according to the American Association for the Study of Liver Diseases, in most cases without any symptom. Second, an increase in low-grade inflammation mediated by molecules like NF-κB and TNF-alpha, which progressively damages liver cells and impairs filtration capacity. Third, oxidative stress, the accumulation of free radicals inside liver cells that accelerates cell damage. The markers your doctor orders in blood tests, ALT, AST, GGT, alkaline phosphatase, measure exactly the effects of these 3 processes on liver tissue. The nuts I will show you today contain compounds that act specifically on these 3 processes, not magically or immediately, but measurably, documentedly, and safely when incorporated as part of a consistent dietary pattern. Nut number 7, peanuts. The peanut, technically a legume but nutritionally classified with nuts, is the most accessible source on the list, and the one that most surprises when it comes to liver health. The main active compound in peanuts relevant to the liver is resveratrol, present especially in the red skin of peanuts. Resveratrol has a dual mechanism of action in liver tissue. It inhibits the enzyme PNPLA3, one of the main drivers of fat accumulation in liver cells, and activates the SIART1 pathway, which stimulates hepatic cellular autophagy. A study published in the Journal of Hepatology followed adults with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease for 24 weeks. The group that consumed 30 grams of peanuts per day showed an 11% reduction in liver fat measured by ultrasound and an average 18-point drop in ALT without any other dietary change. Frank was 68 years old, a retired accountant from Sacramento, with ALT of 67 and grade 1 steatosis diagnosed 2 years earlier. With 30 grams of peanuts with skin per day at afternoon snack time, ALT dropped to 48 in 16 weeks. How to use Prefer peanuts with skin. The red skin contains the highest concentration of resveratrol. Avoid peanuts roasted with salt or coated with sugar. 25 to 30 grams per day. Nut number 6, cashew. The cashew is rich in anacardic acid, a phenolic compound exclusive to cashew that does not exist in any other nut. Anacardic acid has a documented inhibitory effect on the liver enzyme HMG-CoA reductase, the same enzyme that statins inhibit pharmacologically to reduce cholesterol, resulting in less VLDL cholesterol production in the liver. Additionally, cashews are high in magnesium, an essential cofactor for over 300 enzymatic reactions in the liver, including glutathione synthesis. A study in the European Journal of Nutrition showed that regular cashew consumption was associated with a significant reduction in GGT levels after 12 weeks. Margaret was 72 years old, a retired teacher from Phoenix with GGT of 62. With 20 grams of cashews per day for 14 weeks, her GGT dropped to 44. How to use 20 to 25 grams per day, preferably raw or lightly roasted without salt. Nut number 5. Pistachios. Pistachios contain the highest concentration of lutein and zeaxanthin among all nuts and are rich in beta-sitosterol, a phytosterol that inhibits the expression of the SREBP1C gene in the liver, the gene that controls hepatic fat synthesis. A randomized study in the Nutrition Journal followed patients with metabolic syndrome for 24 weeks. The pistachio group showed a 20% reduction in ALT levels and significant improvement in hepatic steatosis index. Richard was 70 years old, a retired engineer from Cleveland with metabolic syndrome and ALT of 74. With 30 grams of pistachios per day for 20 weeks, ALT dropped to 54, and triglycerides fell from 210 to 168. How to use 28 to 30 grams per day, equivalent to about 49 shelled pistachios. Prefer unsalted. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from right now. Write the name of your city, and if you have not yet subscribed, click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell now. Nut number 4. Hazelnuts. Hazelnuts have the highest vitamin E content among all nuts, especially alpha-tocopherol, the most biologically active form. In the liver, vitamin E is the primary fat-soluble antioxidant that protects liver cell membranes against lipid peroxidation and has been shown to reduce expression of TGF-beta, directly associated with the progression from steatosis to hepatic fibrosis. A clinical trial in the Journal of Nutrition and Metabolism showed significant reductions in AST and C-reactive protein in adults with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease after 12 weeks of regular consumption. Patricia was 66 years old, a retired teacher from Atlanta with AST of 58. With 25 grams of hazelnuts per day for 16 weeks, AST dropped to 38 and CRP from 3.2 to 1.8 mg/L. How to use 25 to 30 grams per day, preferably with skin. Nut number 3. Walnuts. Walnuts have the highest alpha-linolenic acid content, plant-based omega-3, and are the richest in ellagic acid, which the gut microbiome converts to urolithins with potent hepatic anti-inflammatory action. Omega-3 reduces hepatic triglyceride production by inhibiting the DGAT2 enzyme. Ellagic acid inhibits NF-κB in liver tissue. A study in the Journal of Hepatology followed 136 patients with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease for 24 weeks. The group with 30 grams of walnuts per day showed a 13% reduction in liver fat by MRI, a 22-point drop in ALT, and significant improvement in NAFLD activity score. The control group showed no improvement. Richard Sr. was 71 years old, a retired physician from Cleveland with ALT of 82, AST of 61, and grade 2 steatosis. With 30 grams of walnuts per day for 24 weeks, ALT dropped to 54 and AST to 39. How to use 28 to 30 grams per day, about 7 whole walnuts, plain, without salt or added oils. Nut number 2. Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts are the most concentrated dietary source of selenium available in nature. A single Brazil nut contains between 68 and 91 micrograms of selenium. Selenium is the most critical mineral for liver health because it is the essential cofactor of glutathione peroxidase, the primary antioxidant enzyme produced by the liver. Epidemiological studies in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that low serum selenium levels are strongly associated with higher risk of fatty liver disease, hepatic fibrosis, and hepatocellular carcinoma. A trial in biological trace element research showed that 2 Brazil nuts per day for 12 weeks normalized serum selenium in 100% of deficient participants and significantly reduced markers of hepatic oxidative stress. Patricia Sr. was 67 years old, a retired nurse from Atlanta, with GGT of 78 and serum selenium of 42 mcgl, below normal. With just 2 Brazil nuts per day for 12 weeks, selenium rose to 72 mcgl and GGT dropped to 51. How to use 1 to 2 nuts per day, no more than 3, as excess selenium is toxic. Nut number 1, almonds. Almonds are the most studied nut for liver health in the world. Their profile of active compounds, vitamin E, naringenin, kaempferol, oleic acid, magnesium, and prebiotic fibers, acts through multiple simultaneous mechanisms. Naringenin inhibits hepatic lipogenesis via AMPK. Oleic acid improves insulin signaling in liver cells. Prebiotic fibers produce propionate and butyrate with direct anti-inflammatory effects in the liver. A meta-analysis published in Nutrients 2022, analyzing 17 clinical trials with more than 800 participants with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, concluded that regular almond consumption is associated with an average 19-point reduction in ALT, 14 points in AST, 8% in liver fat, and significant improvement in insulin resistance. Frank Sr. was 74 years old, a retired farmer from Sacramento, with ALT of 89, AST of 72, and grade 2 steatosis. With 43 grams of almonds per day for 24 weeks, ALT dropped to 61 and AST to 51. How to use 43 grams per day, 23 whole almonds, the standard portion used in all research. Prefer almonds with skin, raw or unsalted roasted. These are the signs that your liver is asking for attention. ALT or AST above 40 in routine blood tests. GGT above 50 in men or 35 in women. Persistent fatigue without obvious cause. Heaviness or discomfort on the right side of the abdomen after fatty meals. Hepatic steatosis diagnosed by ultrasound. Here is the plan to start now. First, ask your doctor for hepatic markers at your next blood test. ALT, AST, GGT, alkaline phosphatase. Second, include at least 2 nuts from the list in your daily routine. Third, start with the most accessible, peanuts with skin, cashews, and almonds. Fourth, use nuts as a replacement for other snacks, crackers, bread, cookies. Fifth, 1 to 2. Brazil nuts per day are essential if your serum selenium has not been measured in the past 12 months. Sixth, avoid fried versions, with honey, with sugar, or with excess salt. Seventh, be consistent. The documented effects on hepatic markers occurred after 12 to 24 weeks of regular consumption. A report published by the World Health Organization in 2023 estimated that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease affects approximately 38% of adults over 60 worldwide, and that in more than 70% of cases, the diagnosis occurs only during routine exams, without prior symptoms. And the good news, documented dietary changes can reverse grade 1 and grade 2 steatosis in 12 to 24 weeks without medication. My friend, the liver does not hurt when it is overloaded. It simply loses function, silently, while you live your life. But lab tests speak, and the right foods also speak, in a measurable way that shows up in the numbers of your next blood results. You watch this video to the end because you care about your health. Now go to the kitchen, start with almonds and walnuts, and in 3 months ask your doctor for hepatic markers to see the difference. In the next video, I will reveal the herbs and teas with the greatest documented effect on hepatic markers. God bless you and give you much health. Until next time.